Okay, so our next talk is by Professor Piska. Professor Piska being the co-organizer of this great event, and it's on challenges of Generation Z lawyers. Very much looking forward to this. Chris is the person for any kind of research, the relationship between law and disruptive technologies. What is it that we will do to the future of law? What will the future of law do to us, or rather the technologies associated with it? And what's the future going to hold, Chris? Looking forward to your talk.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. So I'm going to try to keep it short. I chose this topic because, of course, as a university guy, I'm working quite a lot with people from Gen Z. So I know quite a lot about them. And let's focus who is Generation Z and how does it function? Yeah, how do they their brains work? These are people from birthday years 1995 to 2010. Okay, and if you read scientific studies, reports about how their brains work and how they function, you will notice that they function differently from older people, from older generations. Yeah? And the thing is, let's focus the assets that they have. Okay, they're loyal, thoughtful, compassionate, they're open-minded, responsible. You have seen it with my assistants that tried to fix the problems that we had with the technique. And they are determined also, that what we saw right now. And they have a great level of tolerance concerning mainstream diversity issues. We all know about that. I don't have to go into details. What they also have as an asset, they are nearly almost always online. Okay, so this can be an asset, but it can also be something negative. It is an asset because they have access to so many infos, yeah, that they also try to get into their brains, and we'll see how they work with it. And they are financially conservative because they were involved in the financial crisis, 2008, 2009. They saw it from their parents if they lost money. So they are not really dedicated to running risks when it's about finance. Okay, now let's go to the challenges of Gen Z. They are influenced mainly by socials and by the internet. Okay, so this information overflow that they are suffering from, yeah, can also be a negative aspect they have to deal with, because they are never really quiet. The phone always gives sounds, they get messages, they get infos from the socials, they get emails, everything, and they try to answer almost at once. So they're not really concentrated sometimes on what they're doing. They are also very mainstream oriented. That comes also from the socials. We all know that. We want to get thumbs up. We want to belong to the community. We don't want to be critical in the socials in many respects. And one thing that is really important, they are totally anxiety driven, because that's also a problem that we are facing in the media. The media have a strategy that is called catastrophizing. Yeah? They are trying to put everything in a catastrophizing way. If you think about climate protection, if you think about Corona, if you think about the crisis that we have with Ukraine and Russia, the high inflation, everything is going to be catastrophized. And that is how they grew up. That is what they are confronted with every single day, every single hour. Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to grow up in such a time. When I grew up, these were end of 80s, beginning of 90s. So we had a totally positive mindset, yeah, that the future will only get better, that we will solve problems like pollution, things like that. And we were really very determined that life is only going to be better in future. This is what they don't have. Yeah, they don't have this positive mindset, and it's not their bad. I really feel with them because they don't have another choice. So what I think is important, we have at university, we have to help them to overcome this negative mindset and make use of their assets in a positive way. This is also connected with an aspect. They are prone to developing mental problems because if you always think negatively, that is a big burden on you. And all this together creates negative correlations with central fields of life. Learning, you can't concentrate. You don't have enough critical responsibility or critical thinking because that is something that you don't learn. Yeah, you don't really learn it at university. I will later point out what we are doing. We're doing a lot here at the Vienna law faculty, but of course, this is a very big issue. Okay, what they also need, they need a safe space because with all these troubles they're in, they don't want to get confronted too much with negative things. So they try to see everything as positive as it can be. And that is also dangerous because you have to be able to realize that life confronts you with many kinds of difficulties, even the studies. You have to get a viewpoint. You have to get a level that enables you later on the market to perform in a way that the people that want to employ you are satisfied. Yeah, and with the socials, they tend to let's say present themselves in a way that isn't really realistic. So that is something that we as university teachers have to enable them to make use of criticism also versus themselves. They never have a moment of peace because they're always online. The problem is also that the average law student doesn't really think critically. That's why I and also my colleagues here in the house try to enable them to develop more determined critical thinking, more innovation when it comes to solve legal problems, things like that. Because they tend to learn what they read in the books, but they don't tend to think very much about it. I see it in my exams. When I take exams, they can tell you what's in the book, but if I ask them what does it mean, it's sometimes really, really difficult for them to create an own opinion or some criticism towards legal concepts, for example, and things like that. Yes, and they're also reluctant when it comes to think alternatively. They are very mainstream oriented, as I said. They want to belong to the community. They want to belong to the mainstream. So before, when I grew up, people who had alternative thoughts, yeah, some of you might realize what I mean at once. They were gurus, yeah. For example, for stock exchange, if they predicted things nobody predicted, they were gurus. Today, these people are conspiracy theorists. Okay, and this is something that they have to learn. They have to learn that alternative thinking doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something bad. Even the contrary. This is something that we have to teach them. Doesn't react? No, it does. So what do we have to do to help them? Yeah, what is their problem when it comes to working with the legal field? The freshmen need a lot of support because they're also looking for that. Yeah, they're not used to solve the problems by themselves. They sit in the course and they're waiting for the problem-solving capacity of the professor. Yeah, and there are so many problems when you start studying law. You are learning a specific language. It's a new language. It's a new kind of thinking. It's normative thinking. We are used to, when they come to law school, they are used to kind of factual thinking. Yeah, they don't know this way of forming an opinion. Uh, they have to learn the proper use of legal methodology. Yeah, this is something that you normally learn at the beginning of the study. Yeah, you learn there are different interpretation methods, and that was it. Afterwards, you learn hard facts about different fields of law, and that's nearly everywhere the same. And me and my colleagues here in the house, we're doing our best to resolve that problem and to make the situation better in the seminars, our courses that we hold. For example, I try to hold many courses in fields of disruptive technologies or disruptive developments of society, because this is what they will have to tackle in future. It will not be knowledge. Knowledge is not so important, knowledge about norms or what a specific law prescribes, because we're in an ever-changing world. Everything changes so quickly that if you learn what a law prescribes, 2 years later, it might be completely different, okay? Especially in the fields of disruptive areas, disruptive technologies that we're confronted with now every single day. Yeah, there are loads of definitions that you have to learn by heart before you develop a feeling for these definitions and these legal concepts. You have to learn them by heart, and that is a hard thing. They start to feel at the beginning of the law studies that this is something completely theoretical, which isn't true, because in law, it's even less theoretical than medicine or something. Yeah, because in law, everything is connected with a phenomenon that takes place in the real world. And that is what we have to make them get aware of. They also have to be able to develop critical legal thinking. This is something that I emphasize from the beginning on. And they have also be able to develop visions of new legal concepts, because we have so many new technologies. Think of AI, think of um, um, legal, think of assets that are merely online. Yeah, we have so many financial assets that you can access online, and that need new laws. We have them now. They are bad. Most of them are bad and too complicated. That is also something that they have to understand. It's not good to see law in a too complex way when you're doing legislative work. It has to be simple. It has to be understandable, and it has to be adapted to the needs of society and of the businesses. Also, one thing that is very important with Gen Z is that they have to develop writing skills. This is something that they don't have, because they're used to type without many thoughts, things very quickly into their smartphone. Yeah. By the way, this is also something that we do, but we still learned this way of developing extensive writing skills. Yeah, but they didn't learn that. They wrote 1 or 2 works in school. Yeah, and a few essays during class, but this is nothing that has really to do with the legal writing skills. So I always try to get them to write. And I have a high level of expectation. It has to look really professionally. Yeah, that's what I expect from them. And I tell them from the beginning on. I tell them when they come to a seminar, this is, in fact, the only chance that you will have. We have 2 seminars that people have to follow. The others are facultative. So this is the only chance that we'll have to develop writing skills. If you don't do it without being forced to do it, that's also a good idea, which I try to enhance. Yeah. Yes, and they also have to be able to develop legal problem-solving strategies. If you just learn what's in the law or what theories exist about it, you won't learn that. What I try to make them realize is there is a case and we will have to solve them. There is a problem and we will have to find a solution for this. And I tell them also the legal political problems when creating new visions of new legal concepts. And then they have to face the fact that legal AI algorithms get more and more common. Think of ChatGPT. This is not really a legal algorithm, but it can do legal work as well. It doesn't do it always really in a fine way, but it starts working and it gets better every day because it learns from every action that it takes for any of the users. So in future, the simple work like research, like trying to describe the content of laws that you are trying to analyze, this AI will soon be able to do, if not now already. So this won't get them very far. What will get them far, and which will be an asset on the market, is if they can solve problems in a stringent way, if they can produce papers. That's all bosses in the legal field. That's what they want. They want to give them a task, create a paper. It might be for a court, it might be an opinion for a customer, a client. Yeah, that's what they should be able to do. And even for Gen Z, even that is the biggest problem in my eyes. So we can skip that. Wait a minute. Yeah. So what am I doing in this field? For example, this will now be a new edition of Fachwörterbuch Rechtswissenschaften. This is like a legal lexicon, okay? And it will contain more than 300 terms. We're almost ready with that. And that should help the beginners, but also the more experienced, because this gives a glimpse of the important aspects of every legal term that there is in every legal field. And that means if they use it, they can, it's more easy for them to understand what they're reading. Because if you read a book about law, about any field of law, there are no definitions in it. You have to know what this term means that's used here. And that is not only a problem at the beginning, there it is very big, the biggest problem, but it's also a problem later on because I keep forgetting what you already knew, and then you have another field of law. And what I also try is to point out what are the relations between the single terms. So now that I did some adverts for myself, I think I can finish, and I want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. So are there any questions for Chris on this point? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Christian, first of all, for the great book tip.
You're
which
welcome.
is duly noted. As the mother of a Gen Z law student, I found your talk very illuminative and also a bit surprising, I must say. So thank you for opening up my perspective on this group of people. My son doesn't actually quite fit this profile, but then he's the only Gen Z law student I know. So for example, he's quite good at learning and also at critical thinking, I'm happy to say. The way you presented it, the representatives of this group that you get to know in your work, I mean, they seem to present a pretty united front, as it were. Is it really that homogeneous? Are they all really like that?
I have to say, I tried to be short, it didn't work, but I omitted some things that I would have liked to say. One is now that you pointed it out, this is generalizing. I don't like generalizing normally, but I have seen in some publications that I used for these slides that other people do it too, and they have the same impressions as I do. If they worked it out scientifically, I had American papers, for example. We can also send it, if you like, this paper per email, if you're interested into that. And this means, of course, concerning the cultural background, the parental background, it will differ quite a lot how Gen Z people work. But there are these tendencies, it is true. And I also have to say, of course, in my field, but with my team, I try to find people who are maybe more developed than the average Gen Z guy. This means, and I'm lucky, I have managed to find these people, and this is possible, but it's not the rule. That's what I have to say, and this is something that I have to admit. And I want to emphasize that I don't see Gen Z negatively because they might be inferior to other generations. This is not the case. They just fit into another scheme. They have to live, I pointed it out at the beginning, with very negative circumstances. Yeah. And we can only try in our position here at university, we can only try to make the situation better for them. And I tried in every discussion that I have, I tried with my own team, I tried in events, if I talk to people from Gen Z, maybe in the field of climate protection. Yeah, I have many discussions with very young people who are maybe climate activists or Klimakleber or Fridays for Futures, things like that. And they have, of course, thoughts that don't fit in our developed thinking of the rule of law, things like that. Yeah, but they are so convinced of what they're doing, yeah, that they develop some kind of disrespect for people who think differently, because they see no other choice because of this catastrophizing way the media present this problem. They think we're all guilty. We have destroyed the world, or we will destroy it if we don't change everything right now. Then I try to explain them how I see it and why I see it that way, and that we should tackle this problem without sacrificing everything that the past generations after the Second World War in Europe, for example, built up on the field of fundamental rights, on the field of rule of law, safety, legal safety, things like that. They don't care about this because they don't know what it's worth. They have never experienced this. So this is what I try to tell them and what I try to teach them, and it works. I can tell you, if you talk openly to them, even if they are completely of a different opinion, they start to understand that it's a little bit more complex than they try to tackle it. And it's possible. It's possible. Common understanding. This is very important for me here at university, and also if I have political discussions. And this common understanding helps very much, especially in times where things start drifting apart and people start fighting against each other. That's unnecessary.
One more question before we proceed to our next speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm really impressed with your presentation, and I'm sure we would love to invite you with this lecture to the Faculty of Law at the University of Gdańsk.
Okay.
But we'll discuss it later.
It will be my pleasure to do it.
I think it is very important in the process of constructing teaching way of teaching for our students now and in the future. That's why I realized that sometimes we are not so sure how to build the communication with young people, and it would be very helpful. The question is about the scope of empirical research. I mean, how many data you collected? So did you made any questionnaires asking your students, or you presented the stage of presumption now?
I have to admit, I didn't make any empiric research for this. Only my own viewpoint. That what I, in my field of activities, am experiencing. This went into this presentation, and I checked it with publications I found, and I saw that this attitude that I have, it is very common with people who try to get into this.
There you go.
So thank you for your presentation. I absolutely agree with you that it's vital to teach our students how to write effectively, because words are the dominant tool of trade for lawyers, barristers, solicitors, judges, whatever you want to call it. Also, Robert mentioned in his keynote address that all lawyers write. Some write worse, some write better. So it's absolutely crucial to teach our students to write effectively. And I try doing it also in my classes. I teach international legal English here at Juridicum. And I just have a practical question. How do you tackle situations where you've given your students a writing assignment, for example, to write a simple memo or a letter to a client or to a colleague, and you know that they use ChatGPT?
That's a good question. We have talked about this since about 1 year. I've thought how to tackle this issue, and I think I'm trying to. We also, among the professors here of constitutional law, we also talked about it, and I also saw some kind of a common understanding here. I decided that in some courses, I'm going to try to allow them to use ChatGPT. And I want to do it in a way that I can later check in which way they used it. Yeah, so I want to have a description how they used it, what they asked it to do, yeah, and what was the text that it produced that they used for the final paper. Yeah, and I want to see how much they did themselves and how well they instructed ChatGPT to write a text. Yeah, because this is also some kind of field research that I find interesting. I also have used it and tried it, yeah, with very, very different results, yeah. There is, I have to admit, there is no text that it wrote for me that I really used for a publication without changing substantial things. Yeah, but I realized also that it really gets better, and sometimes it writes real good texts. Yeah. And the thing is that ChatGPT, like many or most AI algorithms, it works with probability. Yeah. So if it doesn't know what to do, it creates some kind of calculations within this algorithm, how probably it would be that people would have a certain opinion. Yeah. This is also critical, of course, but as I said, it leads sometimes to quite acceptable results. And I think it is important that we let the students use it, because if we don't allow it to them, they will do it without our allowance. They will do it, I'm sure. They will tell us right into the face, I didn't do it, because you can't check upon it. It's not possible, not really. Maybe in some cases, yeah. So we will have to adapt our teaching methods and also the methods when we are judging upon seminar papers or any papers that they write. We will have to include the use of AI mechanisms into that. And that is also something that is, I think so, yeah. It might be good to train Gen Z to develop superior abilities to write or to think critically, because then they have what they like. They have a proposal, and then they have to think critically about that, yeah, and to change it and to think, is this really my opinion? Yeah, and they see also they learn with that how you have to work as a boss. Yeah, because you will get the papers from your team, and then you will work with that, no matter in which field of law you work, as an attorney, in a big enterprise, wherever you are, you will need your team to set up papers. Yeah, and then this is something that they will learn when they're studying. And I think that good studies and a good level of teaching includes teaching for practical jobs, because this is what they will have to do afterwards. And that is what I and my colleagues here at the law faculty are trying to do very desperately, because it's really, really important.
Thank you, Chris. I can't stress this enough. As you just said, it's nothing
Okay.
actually
Thank you.
able to do rather than to talk about. But one thing we know is we want to look at the relationship between